We're at a pretty critical time. If we look around the world, we see so many challenges. I guess first and foremost, climate change. And food and agriculture are the sectors that are most vulnerable. And of course, I work in the implementation of the Global Food Security Act through Feed the Future. And we need solutions. We need ways to help equip literally hundreds of millions of smallholder farm families across the global south to be prepared to be able to assure their food security, but also to have solutions that help them, and by extension all of us, get more from less. So what do I mean by that? I mean water use efficiency, nutrient use efficiency, drought tolerance, heat tolerance, flood tolerance, reduced burden of disease in their livestock and poultry and fish. All of these things that help reduce the footprint, the climate footprint of food and agricultural systems in climate-friendly ways that also help us protect the planet. So it's about adaptation to these changes that they're facing. That we see it. We don't have to look far from here as we sit in Des Moines to see the impacts of climate change. We have this opportunity more than ever before to leverage the tools that science is providing us to help develop seeds, breeds, precision decision-making, even in smallholder systems. I'll give you an example. The International Fertilizer Development Center, based in Alabama, but working heavily in Africa, along with several US universities, have a soil health consortium. That consortium developed a means to link data in the cloud on from soil mapping and spatial data to decision-making by the farmer. So she herself can integrate what she knows about the data that comes to her cell phone with questions about the rotation, the slope, the tilth of the soil, that enable us to give her fertilizer efficiency gains of up to 80 or 100% and greatly reducing losses. So what this does is mean she can use less fertilizer and get much more bang for the buck, and it becomes a better value proposition for her. If we blow that up to expand it, then we can think of Africa, where in the last 20 years, the first part of this century, 3/4 of the increase in food production has come from extensification. That means putting more land under the plow, clearing woodlands, clearing forests, draining wetlands. That is not sustainable, and that is not poverty reducing, because it doesn't actually make food more affordable for poor people. We need to reverse that, and we've done it elsewhere in the world. We've seen what can happen when we integrate innovation from agricultural research, but also meteorological data, climate, market data, seasonal forecasts, all kinds of things that equip farmers to get more from the land they're already cultivating and less about just expanding all the time and having almost like a soil mining, non-sustainable approach. From the very upstream science, the bringing in genes that enable resistance to soy rust. That's not a disease we have in the US yet, but we might. As climate changes, it could come. So we can help American farmers by getting ahead of that. But we have that upstream science integrating into a whole series of actors crop breeders, seed systems, farmers, off-takers, processors that make fish feed and soy and maize-based feed for poultry and eggs. And why is that important? The continuing scourge of micronutrient deficiency that so many people in the world, several billion, lack key nutrients in their diet. And while we heard about biofortification of crops, the orange flesh sweet potato, which is very exciting, and also zinc and iron, with vitamin A, a lot of great things happening there. But the other gold standard for this kind of nutrition is animal source foods. So think about fish, poultry, eggs, dairy, and these are very, very expensive for poor people in much of the world. We talk sometimes in our country about, oh, we maybe eat too much or something. In a lot of the places where USAID works, people eat meat once a year, this kind of thing, maybe at a religious holiday, Christmas, or at an Eid. So we can change that, and we can make those products more affordable by bringing in, we heard about soy today, we heard about weather-resistant maize, and these are the building blocks that then enable other farmers, many of them women, to raise poultry, and they can access animal health innovations. We've worked on heat tolerance, Newcastle's disease. So it's about integrating all of this science together. And we've done some work with ERS at USDA, the Economic Research Service, and with the International Food Policy Research Institute, that tells us that we know that where we work in these bread baskets or rice bowls, except maybe they're not really wheat and rice, they could be other crops, sorghum and millet and cowpea and cassava and many others. We can really move the needle on poverty and child stunting reduction by increasing this productivity, getting more from less, and doing it in a way that reduces risk, climate risk, disease risk, market risk, post-harvest loss risk, reduce the risks, and then increase the potential, bring in the disease resistance, bring in the better soil health management, the fertility management. And what happens if we decrease risk and increase productive potential? That drives investment. That's what it's all about, getting investment into these smallholder systems that feed Africa. And these are rain-fed systems, millions and millions of people, and they produce 95% of the food in sub-Saharan Africa. So that's why it was exciting for me to hear about how this innovation chain that Diana Horvath talked about from Two Blades Foundation, we have to do all the pieces. And what else did we hear? We have to build capacity in partnerships. We work through partnerships, local ownership of innovation, right? This is not something, these are demand driven, and it's collaboration. It's not giving anybody, it's not even teaching somebody how to fish, right? That old saying, give them a fish, teach them to fish. It's about learning how to fish better in their waters together. And that's what it's all about. And it's not just about food security, it's about environmental security, climate change, biodiversity, forests, all these things, water, that we need to come together in almost a new consensus around how all these human necessities, human well-being, are aligned with planetary boundaries.